In this episode, we talked to James Scherer, the VP of Growth with Codeless, and he's got a stack of tools that could really help your business to grow, no matter what levels you're at. And I'd love for you to be a part of this conversation now with me as we jump into this. But before we do that, please subscribe to our podcast. Leave us a rating, give us a review. It helps us when you can come behind us and tell us how we're doing and what we're presenting in each episode, so that we can continue to do the same. So without further ado, though, let's go and have a chat with James. James, it's so good to have you. Welcome to my show. How are you?
I'm doing really well, Ricardo. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to this.
Absolutely. We were just talking off here, and understand that you're out in Europe, in London to be exact. But I'd love my listeners to learn a little more about you. So why don't we start with tell us who you are and what you do?
For sure. So yeah, I'm living in London, originally from Seattle. I am the VP of Growth at a content agency called codeless.io. So we do content production almost exclusively for small, medium-sized businesses. Been there for about 2.5 years. But basically, I was an English grad who graduated into a world that was like, are you gonna work at Starbucks? Because that's all we got for you. But serendipitously fell into a marketing internship job thing back a million years ago. And from there, just kind of fell in love with content marketing, and writer, editor, head of inbound, and now VP of Growth at Codeless. So yeah, it's a little bit about me. Codeless itself is like, yeah, we're fully remote. We have like 75 freelancers. We do like high level, high volume content creation. It's exciting stuff, but yeah, there's a lot going on this week for sure.
Awesome. And did you always wanted to do this? Is that sort of...
Dude, I didn't know this existed, man. Like, like a lot of digital marketers, when I was doing my degree or anything like that, I mean, content marketing existed kind of, but in 2010 when I graduated, it was still early days, and definitely early days for businesses. No, I didn't always. I thought about going into publishing, but then I started messing around with it, and it was like super salesy, and so I was like, maybe I'll go into marketing. And then I found this job that was just, you can write, you can be creative, and you can promote business growth, all of which is really exciting stuff. So no, I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, that's great. But we're happy to talk about that a little more too. So we're going to talk about a stack of tools that you've been using to grow Codeless and helping other folks to grow. So let's dive into that. I know there's a list of maybe 3 or 4, or probably 5, but let's dive into what these tools are and kind of help our listeners understand how powerful they are.
For sure. I mean, 3, 4, 5, there's probably 10 tools that I could dive into, man. We're a fully remote company, and we do like, there's a lot going on. So,
Yeah.
But the tool that I would probably flag first and foremost, and one you and I had kind of talked about a bit before, is Ahrefs, ahrefs.com, Ahrefs. Ahrefs is a content kind of researching tool. Mm-hmm. And the reason that I love it, and the reason that I use it so much, is that it does a fantastic job of giving you insight into your competitors and your own site's kind of footprint. We talk about increasing your brand's awareness and stuff online. We often fail to get true insight into it. Google Analytics doesn't really give us that insight as much as we might like. Ahrefs allows you to see where your site is ranking for kind of the searches that you want to be found for. So whether you're actively creating content or not, Ahrefs will give you insight into where you are, like how loud are you yelling in the Google world, and we're talking about like how big is your loudspeaker kind of. So I use that tool both to do competitor analysis for my clients. I do it for keyword planning to determine like what are the best keywords that we can target with content. And then I do it for like analytics to say like, okay, my client is ranking here, here, and here for these key phrases. What, are those opportunities for us to increase their search rankings or increase their visibility and drive significant traffic? And I think Ahrefs at its heart is not just a keyword research tool though. Like the reason that I kind of chose it to be my kind of number one is that a lot of people use it exclusively for like, tell me the search volume for this key phrase. Done, sweet, I got what I needed out of it. Ahrefs does this really, the site explorer functionality within Ahrefs allows you to see every keyword that all your competitors are ranking for. And I use it to cheat constantly. Like one of my main jobs is like develop a content strategy and a content plan for your clients. I can just go into my client's competitors, keyword performance and say, here's 200 articles that we need to create. And here's how competitive they are. Here's a search volume for each one of those key phrases. Here's the priority based on those two things, as well as the intent behind the key phrase. And I can just hand it to them and say, here's your content plan. And take me 15 minutes, man. So those tools that can save significant time and do way more than you first think they do on the box, those are the tools that I love to brag about and talk about and share with people.
Nice. That's awesome. So that's Ahrefs, and and I know there were a couple others that you had mentioned. So now, if you're not using Ahrefs, this is a good opportunity to explore and look at it, but not the way that a lot of folks use it. It's kind of getting deeper and diving deeper into the competitive analysis and the other pieces that you can really leverage there. What are the other pieces of the stack that we're talking about?
For sure. So ultimately what we're talking about here, and then we put some framework, is what are the tools that enable your business, no matter the size, to create content that ranks and drives traffic.
Right.
So the first piece of that is identifying what are the articles we should write, period. Ahrefs helps you with that. The second stage of it is like, okay, how do we create good content? And that's, for me, I go to Phrase. So phrase.io, F-R-A-S-E, not P-H, F-R-A-S-E. And Phrase essentially allows you to drop in the topic that you pulled from Ahrefs, and you drop it into their kind of optimize or their content reporting tool. And basically it'll spit out, here's what's ranking for that target key phrase, and here's how all those articles look, and here's what they're including. And that'll help you or your writers understand what to kind of include in your content. And then once you draft that content, there's an optimize function that'll allow you to see here's what you're missing from your content that the competition is including. So really quickly and easily, you're able to create SEO-oriented content. And search, like SEO, is for a long time been extremely difficult barrier to entry kind of field, right? It's years and there's 1,000 variables, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what a tool like Phrase does, and there are others, but Phrase is the one that we use. What a tool like Phrase does is allows you to at least get a foundational confidence that you are creating content that is search oriented. And then you can do the back end stuff, meta descriptions, meta titles, make sure you have images, make sure you're doing all of your best practices SEO wise, but at least the content itself, you can feel confident it is optimized. The other thing that's cool with Phrase is that for small businesses and medium-sized businesses who use freelance writers, you don't pay for each content report. So you pay for access to the tool. So it's user pricing. So the number of people you have pulling reports, you pay for, but the reports themselves are free. So you can send your writers, your freelancers, kind of a view only, edit only report that they can drop their draft into. But you don't have to pay for them. Where a lot of those tools, ClearScope, SEO Surfer, Market Muse, you pay per report you're pulling, and Phrase allows you to do at scale kind of analysis of a content plan.
Sweet, nice, and I love how the one connects you to the other. So now that you get a handle on, okay, what are we supposed to be writing from a content perspective? What happens next, and what's your next go-to tool now that you've gotten that down and pat?
So my next go-to tool would be Wordable. So Wordable is one of those weird tools that like you don't think you need until you have it, And then you're like, oh, how did I'm saving like 15 minutes every day, which is not crazy, but it's also not a very expensive tool. But it's one of those tools that basically what it does is it takes a Google Doc and allows you to super quickly and easily import it and have it be formatted and beautiful and done in your CMS, WordPress, wherever you are. And that formatting of a Google Doc or Word doc or whatever into your CMS is actually one of those time-consuming things that when you do it at scale or a volume is just a waste of time, especially because by and large, the person who's doing that is also the person that edited it, and that's a pretty expensive person. So you either need to find like a virtual assistant or somebody to do your CMS uploads, or use a tool like Wordable, which allows you just to edit it right within your Google Docs. Make sure the formatting is legit. Make sure all your images are actually compressed and beautiful and legit, and then just hit export. It sends it to Wordable, and then import from Wordable, and it goes directly into your CMS, and you're done. Meta descriptions, meta titles, optimization, formatting, done. And no, it's not going to like change your life, but not every tool has to change your life. All a tool has to do is make your life a little bit easier. And then when you have 15 tools that make your life easier, suddenly your life is easy.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's powerful. And obviously, if you run the math on 15 minutes ever so often, whether it's twice or 3 times a week, that could save you a lot of time that you can plug in somewhere else, right? So that's beautiful. So now that that's happening and Wordable happens, you're able to get your content running through that, upload to your CMS. What's the other piece that you connect to from there?
So once you're live, I would go back to Ahrefs because I want to track the performance of each URL, right? So for me, it's identify the right key phrases, create optimized content with a tool like Phrase, move it into your CMS and publish it with a tool like Wordable, and then, okay, now I want to track it. And that's either Google Analytics to track your traffic, but for me, I care as much about ranking positions. Where is my content ranking? And that is back within Ahrefs. So it's this beautiful circle of ideation through to analytics. Now, I do want to. There's the other tool that I do want to mention, and you and I think we talked about it briefly before, but the idea of like how do I engage with my freelancers, and this is kind of a tack on kind of parallel tool recommendation. Once I've kind of like my content created, great, but I did it because it's software based. I managed it within a project management tool, whatever. It doesn't, I don't really mind which one you use, but it's all independent. Sorry, it's independent from any kind of real one-on-one with your writer. You can delegate to your writer and have your editor and have your uploader or whatever completely independent working. And we have 75 totally freelance, totally remote writers who I've never met any of them. So I use a tool called Loom, which many people may have heard of Loom, but Loom, Wistia Soapbox is also an option here, but we use Loom and we love Loom. Loom allows me as a manager or as somebody who has conversations with remote workers. I think it's extremely crucial, especially in the past couple of years, to engage with those people as much as I can, and not in a way that is me on Slack or on email or whatever messaging system you're using, just saying like, hey, can you get me this thing? Loom allows me to say, hey, can you get me this thing face to face? And I swear to God, that's so much more important than I think we all know in the past couple of years how important it is, but we did not think about how important that was beforehand. Yeah. And being able to just film a really quick, Loom is basically just like a screen recording, but it's a really good one. Allows me to have myself in the little bottom left corner, talk about what I'm doing. And whenever I ask one of my staff or one of my team members to do something, I don't do it anymore via a simple Slack message. It takes me longer to type it all out than for me just to show exactly what I need you to do, where, and here's the context. And way more importantly than all that, here's my face. Hi, how are you doing? How's your day going? It's raining here. Anyway, can you please pull XYZ? So a tool like Loom is extremely important for any manager working with remote staff, which I imagine most people are nowadays. because engaging those staff and keeping them content and engaged with you is the most important thing you can do that day.
No, and I love that. And I also use Loom too. And you're absolutely spot on. Like just showing your face, and that's so important for the times that we're in now, and just being able to quickly just hit that Loom. I've got it on my browser. I hit it. I say, hey, here's what we want you to do. Can you fix this, that? And my face is there, and you got the smile, and it does something very, very different. And so we love Loom as well. So that's cool. That's really nice. As an addition to that circle, that content circle of tools that what we just talked about. Now, and I want to go into, who are some of these folks that would be like really beneficiaries of using these tools? I know content is at the core. So if you're running a certain type of business, then this may be something that you want to prioritize. So let's talk about, from your experience, who do you really think are some of these folks? I know everyone can use these things, but who are some of those folks that you feel like can't live without them or should not?
Anybody who's working with a remote team or freelancers. If you're looking for, especially within content creation, I mean, Loom is useful for anybody work with remote people, period. But the platforms that I'm recommending here revolve around creating really high quality content that ranks without you having to be over the shoulder of the person doing it in real life. Ideally, what we're doing here is we're facilitating a cohesive, consistent content production process without having to be really involved. So I identify with Ahrefs the tools or the topics that we want to write. And then I move them, and actually I will drop another one. Like a project management tool like ClickUp, or honestly any of them, Asana, Trello, whatever, money.com. We use ClickUp. It's a little bit more comprehensive. But that tool and all the other ones that I've mentioned allow any business who's working with freelancers to assign a piece of content or an article or whatever it is, whether it's an image or a graphic or whatever, and say, okay, here's the process that I need you to complete. It's within ClickUp. That includes you importing it into Phrase. And then you can tell your other freelancer who's uploading content, this includes you using Wordable. And then I can just say, hey, write this article, and it's going to come out based on the checklist that I provide within ClickUp, based on Phrase, based on Wordable. It's going to come out clean and beautiful without me having to be involved. So really, any business that is working with remote or freelance staff who you don't have, also teams, if you're not in the same time zone as people, what you want to do is adopt software that does your job for you. It answers all of their questions through a checklist of processes, through Phrase telling you this isn't optimized, here's how to optimize it. So that those freelancers who are it's 2 a.m. for you when they have their question of how do I optimize this article, they have software that you've given them that allows them to answer that question for themselves, and they don't have to come to you, and nothing waits on you. And that's absolutely key to scaling a business, because you need, especially now, if you can use freelancers who are more affordable because they're probably overseas, but you don't have to be on them all day, every day, especially if it's 3 a.m. That's how you scale a business. That's how you grow a business. So create and adopt software that allows you to step away and go to bed and have them complete work and not have questions they can't answer.
Yeah, that's critical. And it's so important to have that because this is a small village now. Like when we used to say, the world is so large, but the world has gotten so smaller because of technology. And so the adaptation of these systems can really, really help you to navigate your way and grow your business. And I thought about just kind of, so what else is kind of out there that would be an alternative, if folks who are not using, Ahrefs and then go to Phrase and then go to Wordable, like what's so different about these stack, in your opinion, than some of the alternatives that are out there today? This podcast is brought to you by MI Digital Hub. MI Digital Hub is a all-in-one 360-degree high-level experience of your digital presence on the web today. If you would like to understand where you are now, what does your digital presence look like today, visit midigitalhub.com. Gives you a full snapshot report on where you are when it comes to SEO, your performance, social media listing, your Google My Business listing, all of those things you will be able to find in a single tool like the MI Digital Hub. At the MI Digital Hub, you will be able to generate that snapshot report and manage exactly what's happening with your digital presence. So visit midigitalhub.com today. Check it out, generate your free report, and certainly dive in to see how you can make changes when it comes to your digital marketing. This podcast is brought to you by mMessenger. mMessenger is your all-in-one SMS tool to facilitate SMS messaging across 200 countries around the world. Visit mmessenger.co to learn how you can start using SMS for notifications, for alerts, for updates, whatever you'd like to share with your customers. mMessenger is the communication tool for you. mmessenger.co. Visit that location and you will be able to learn more about how you can get started today with mMessenger. This podcast is brought to you by MI Group. MI is your source for technology solutions, digital marketing, and hosting your digital assets on the web today. Visit migroupco.com to learn how you can utilize our services to help you grow your business quickly. migroupco.com to learn more.
The primary alternative to Ahrefs is going to be either Moz or SEMrush, SEMrush. Mm-hmm. And the reason that I prefer Ahrefs is actually kind of because I'm relatively intense high-level SEO. So the reason that I prefer Ahrefs is because its analysis of key phrases is more frequent. So it's giving you more accurate monthly volume than the other platforms. So it's checking more frequently than SEMrush and Moz do. What I like about Moz is that it feels more intuitive. The Site Explorer, what I like about Ahrefs over a tool like Moz is that the Site Explorer functionality is better to me. I like the ease with which I can just check competitors and see exactly what they're ranking for. But there's actually kind of a technical reason why I really prefer it, and it's the accuracy of their data. Phrase, the reason I prefer it, I've already alluded to it, is the ability, especially if you're working with freelancers or remote people, the ability to, for free, have them check content, have them pull a content report. Every other platform we've used, ClearScope, MarketMuse, SEO Surfer, charges per report. So if you're trying to do volume of content, like say, 8 pieces a month or 10 pieces a month, so it can get a little bit pricey because you're paying per report you're pulling. We do, 400 pieces of content a month, so it was a major shift for us to go from a tool like MarketMuse to Phrase. But that's probably the main benefit. Also, I think the results it gives you, like it's pulling the same kind of data. It's checking the competition, seeing what they're ranking, or seeing what they're doing and what their headers are, and pulling the content itself. I also really like that they have the functionality where you can see the links that are cited within a competitor's article. So if I'm trying to rank for, marketing podcast, then I can see what statistics and stats the competition content is included in their content. So then when I'm creating my content, I can go there and get inspiration for what kind of stats I should be including, what I should be citing, the growth of podcasting over the course of, whatever, which just helps me write effectively and quickly. So that's So Wordable, actually, I don't know a competitor to Wordable that
Mm.
I have seen before. I mean, it's a very niche use case, right? It's like moving an article from Google Docs to WordPress is the primary thing that they do. Other word management or document management and other CMSs, give or take, but that's the main use case. So I haven't seen any real competitors to them. Loom.com, as I said, I think Wistia Soapbox does a pretty good job. I haven't really messed around with it much. I like Loom because the shareability of each link is really, really good. The editing options are really, really good. Allow me to trim stuff. If I start, rambling at the end of my video, I can just trim bits of it out and then deliver deliver it to the staff. Yeah, I mean, all of these platforms have competition though. These are
Yeah.
just the ones that I prefer, and I have tried a lot of the others, and these are just ones that we kind of landed on.
Yeah, that's great. And it's always good to know because it helps. I'm sure it helps listeners to avoid those, you don't have to waste your time having to try them all. You're talking or listening to experts who have tried them and tried various numbers of them, obviously, and is saying, hey, maybe you should take a closer look at this one because this is exactly what we've been able to do with it. Let's talk a little about the integration piece real quick on because I know there's so many tools and things that we have to use day in and day out. Some are essentials and some are not necessarily. What are some of the integration possibilities that exist with this set of with this stack of tools that you just talked about?
I mean, the tools that I've mentioned are pretty independent. Like we have a lot of other tools, particularly in the marketing and sales space, that are extremely reliant on other platforms. But Ahrefs, I mean, the ability to export to CSV is not really an integration, but that's handy. Wordable, the integrations that it has with Google Docs and WordPress are extremely crucial and extremely handy. Other tools that we use from the marketing for the sales space, because the tools I'm clearly recommending are pretty independent from each other from anything really. But we use for sales, as my role in VP of Growth, stepping away from content planning and content strategy, we use Drip as our email. First we use lead pages as landing pages. We connect those with Drip forms, drip.com, through their integration. We also use the Gravity forms and lead pages integration, and we use SalesMate as our sales kind of platform, our CRM, which is integrated to all three of those different all three of those. And then of course WordPress and Gravity Forms have their integration. So yeah, I mean, those are the tools. We really haven't really talked about them, but those are the ones we've chosen for sales. Again, that's lead pages, Drip, Gravity Forms, SalesMate. I think that's it. There's probably others. Man, my stack is like a mile long.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you mentioned those because you talked about when you get to the place where you publish your content on your CMS.
Yeah.
There are other distribution opportunities that you can share the content, right? So it's email, then you need to then get that content into your email system and distribute it there, and of course. Yeah. Clearly you can repurpose in other spaces as well. So I'm happy you mentioned that. So folks who are interested in trying this or checking it out, can we talk about the URLs to these just so that we can send some folks over so they can check it out themselves, starting with Ahrefs?
So Ahrefs is ahrefs.com. Phrase is frase.io. Wordable is wordable.io, just WORDABLE.io. Loom is loom.com. We use for email, we've talked about kind of spreading the word about the content. We use Mailshake, mailshake.com. We also use drip.com, that does our kind of automated email campaigns. And we use SalesMate, I think it's salesmate.io, which is our CRM, and leadpages.com, which is our landing page software.
Nice, awesome. And so I know, as a growth person, it it's not easy, and our listeners are always interested in growing, and they listen to this
Yeah.
podcast because we want more, and they always want more clients, more revenues, more sales. How have you done it for the last couple of years, and what would you say have been the best thing that's happened to you since you started this role?
So I'm in the agency space. So my successes are my client successes by and large. Only in the past couple of months have I kind of come to the dark side of actually growing our agency itself. But I would say that the things that I'm most proud of as yet, hoping to grow Codeless this year, that's, I'll be proud of that in a year. But right now where I'm at is still being really enthusiastic about the growth of our clients. On that, we started with a company called Early Bird about 18 months ago, and not even. And they were early stage, didn't have a blog when we got to them. It was kind of the two founders and a couple of other interns, that kind of thing. They'd done a very small round of funding to try to get some budget going. And they, I think legitimately so, wanted to prioritize content creation. They wanted to spread awareness about themselves and build a little bit of a community and a little bit of presence online. So we started working with them, beginning with nothing, man, like targeting key phrases that had no search volume really, or like because they were because this site could compete, and we build momentum. I do a kind of a pillar and post method, which is to target, to create competitive content first and foremost, then support it with a number of different articles after the fact with internal linking. It's kind of the basis of the content strategy that I recommend. And through the creation of great content, a measured building of momentum, a measured approach to content creation, starting low and building it and building it and building it. They also used link building. They hired an agency who does good link building, not like the bad stuff. So they did spend a bunch of money in the early days, right? Like they had to invest. But they started publishing content about 15 months ago by the time we got around to it. And they are now seeing 50,000 monthly visitors to their blog in the first 15 months of working.
Nice.
And that's just the most exciting thing for me. A, because they're a client and I can say look how awesome we are. But B, because it's really exciting for them. Now they're having a problem of how do we convert these people, which is a whole different, but that's a great problem to have. So that would be the building a content plan with the tools that we've talked about, with intention, slowly building momentum, investing to know that I know it feels scary in the beginning, but investing early on and then seeing growth in the long term is a really exciting thing to see. And that's probably what I'm most proud of in the past couple of years.
That's amazing. And it's you have to be in it for the long haul, and just to see what you've done in 15 months. And it's not a lot of time, really. 15 months is just like a snap, but just seeing how you can actually grow. And I think that's what's pleasing for our listeners, so that you can, folks can even connect with you too, which is going to be my next thing. Let's talk about anything that I didn't ask you that you might want to share. And I imagine maybe talk a little about, your company as well, and how you might be able to offer some help to folks who are in need of this.
For sure. I think we covered a lot of it. I would say, I guess I just want to encourage listeners to don't be intimidated by the initial investment into content or by the slow results. It's scary. I get that. And we have a lot of clients who it's concerning, when you invest X amount of money for the first 3 to 6 months and you don't see anything from it. Whereas ads, you'd be like, I'm throwing $100 at ads, I'm gonna get 110 back and sweet success. Content doesn't work that way. But I would encourage people to give it a shot anyway, because the return on investment in the long run is way more positive than you're gonna get from the 99% of outbound campaigns. Codeless, the company that I work for, codeless.io, we do great content. We do a premium level of high quality content though. So we invest, we create content like for Early Bird and for a number of different small businesses and medium-sized businesses around the world. We are a like top tier content agency. The reason that we cost what we do is because every piece that we produce is fantastic. We have expert writers. We have a dedicated content planning and content strategy team behind everything, so that the content that you create at cost has the best possible chance of working. And content is one of those things that you can either pay $50 for an article or you can pay $1,000 for an article. And there's such a massive difference. And you can, I swear to God, you can publish 20 articles at $50 and nothing's going to happen. Or you can publish 1 or 2 at 1,000 and you can actually, oh wait, we're actually seeing growth from this. So that would be kind of, I would encourage people to entertain the possibility of really investing in content. We have clients who, as I said, are seeing 50,000 monthly visitors just to their blog within 15 months. And it takes them a while, but it gets serious results. And I'm more than happy to talk about it and talk about how it all works and how it can be put together. My email address is james@codeless.io. Just send me an email. I'm happy to chat. Or check out codeless.io, the website, and see what we're doing. Yeah.
Amazing. That's amazing. You have to make an investment to get that return. I always like to talk about books and podcasts, like where you're getting your knowledge and so forth from. So what are the books that you're reading or maybe have read that has impacted you, and maybe podcasts? I know you're into content, so we got to kind of touch on your favorite blogs too that you like to read. So let's just do those 3 books, podcasts, and blogs, so our listeners could dive into those too.
For sure. Okay, books. Lean Marketing was a really good one. The Lean Marketer. That was probably the one that had one of the biggest impacts on me, because I was coming from the startup space and was trying to figure out how to build a content team or build a marketing team that A, would succeed, B, that wasn't $1 million, and C, that I didn't have to be everywhere all the time to make sure anything ticked over. So that's a good one. Podcasts, I'm not a massive marketing podcast listener. I listen to like comedy ones while I run, but I do read a lot of blogs. I would say that finding the good marketing blogs is actually hard. There's a billion of them out there. I still think Backlinko, what Brian Dean's doing over there with the kind of experiential and evidence-based content marketing, is one of the best blogs on the web. Ideally, what I would say is whenever you type anything into Google to do with marketing, find the blogs that are talking about and giving data. Not just because data is really helpful and it allows you to actually have confidence in what they're recommending, but the businesses that are producing data reliably, it means that they have tracking and analytics set up that basically, in order to track well, and a lot of your listeners will know this, analytics is always one of those things that comes after everything, all of the growth plans and all the growth strategies and all the growth hacks and all that kind of stuff. Analytics is one of those things that's really hard to do well, and absolutely crucial. So if you can get a publisher who is giving you true data, it means that they have done all of the growth things and are doing analytics well, which is hard and rare. And publish good content that revolves around data is equally rare. So I would say Brian Dean would be my go-to right there. Groove is also excellent. Buffer is also excellent for social media and stuff like that. But again, all that data-based kind of blog content would be my go-to.
Nice, sweet. So that's great to hear. I'm going to check some of those out myself. So we're on a wrap, but we're always looking for creators and master users like yourself, who has this experience that's so rich that can really pour into the entrepreneur who's thinking about growing their business, or the individual who's thinking about starting their business, or those who are already in it and just looking for expansion and opportunities like those. Do you have any recommendations of anyone that you think would be a good, a good conversation, would make a good conversation on our next podcast as a guest, to talk about something that they're using to grow their business as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, going back a little bit, the CEO and co-founder of Earlybird, the one that I mentioned, guy named Caleb Frankel, he's a super smart dude. He's in the kind of the financial app space, which like is, really interesting. They're growing very, very quickly. He's kind of done it with his co-founder, building it from not a whole lot to something pretty cool in a year or so. So talking to him and seeing what he's using, what I think would be really handy. I have no idea what his stack looks like, but I bet you he's using some cool stuff.
Yeah, I bet that too. I bet that's the cool stuff. Well, James, this is amazing. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate you dropping this knowledge on our listeners, and I've learned a thing or two as well. So that's always great. But it won't be the last time, because we'd love to check in with you sometime in the future, see how you're doing, see how Codeless is actually doing as well. And until then, just take care, and when you get back on this side of the world, let's probably grab some coffee or something when you get back out here. But thank you so much.
Sounds good, man. I'd love to. Thank you, Ricardo.
All right, you got it. That was James sharing a powerhouse of tech stacks that you can use to help you build your business. And we appreciate him jumping in to share that. I've learned a ton, and I hope you did as well. Don't forget, leaning to these tools that we share in each episode, leaning to them and give them a shot, and see how you can move your needle one little bit more to your success. And so until next time, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a review, give us a rating, subscribe to us. Let us know how you think about and how you feel about what we're bringing in every episode. And so don't forget, though, as you choose a tool to help you rule your growth. And we'll talk soon.